Yes. Yes, hello, this is William speaking.
Hi, William. My name is Kevin Barron. I'm a commander with Westminster Police Department. How are you?
Hey, doing fantastic, actually. It's one of my better days. I can't lie. No, I'm just kidding. Things are pretty serious, though, in general. What's going on?
Melissa Irwin, who was the Secretary in Internal Affairs, had told me that you had called in twice and left, and she's given me those messages, forwarded them to me. And I've listened to your messages, and that you were satisfied with the Westminster Police Department, basically, and that you felt that maybe we're not following the law.
That? Yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm still here. We're on the road, that's all. We're in a van.
Okay.
But, I gotcha. Yeah, that actually, that's amazing that you were able to sum it up like that. It's taken me over a year now with a lot of other municipalities to kind of figure out exactly what's going on. And so, yeah, the thing that concerns me the most, I won't even jump into that. I didn't mean to interrupt. You're the commander. I've never talked to a commander before, so this is interesting.
I'm a commander of swing shift, and the way that works is a lot of these officers that what it is after I got your information from Melissa, I looked up 3 cases. Case involving Officer Perez and I believe
Sains.
Sains, Officer Sains. I looked up a Goslin case, Officer Goslin case, and then I looked up the Kevin Saylor case, which
Yep.
actually went to court today.
Oh yeah, that's all 3 of them. Or 4, I guess. But
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in reading this, a lot of these cases have been dismissed with the exception of the obstruction by the judges. Is that correct?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was the most concerning one.
And tell me, let me know. I'm just assuming here, and if I'm wrong, please let me know. But I'm assuming that since these cases have been dismissed, you're thinking that the officers acted inappropriately or illegally by issuing you a summons for those solicitations.
Yeah, from my research in general, I'm kind of turned into a pro se attorney. I feel like all these officers lacked probable cause. I don't even think they knew what probable cause is. I mean, because that would require you to know what elements are to go through them and so forth. And so some of them were so downright lacking of any sort of specificity of any legal, wrongdoing of me that the one that really stands out the most is basically Sains had told the judge that the private drive for 94th there and Sheridan was basically maintained by the city, and as a result, I had the potential of still stepping out, and that's why I still had, they had reasonable suspicion, and as a result, I obstructed their justice. And so the exact opposite happens, real quick here, where Officer Goslin even thought I was false reporting to authorities and so forth. He even opened up a reverse investigation because of how private that drive is and so forth. And I've even called myself in, not called me, but I called people in just to see if a daytime type of thing could prove that it's not really a dispute, that it's a private drive, and that there really is no contracts or anything like that. And so yeah, this obstruction charge is on my record. I tried to appeal it, but I appealed it to the wrong court actually, and so it's one of many cases I've just been trying to figure out how to clean up my record on, basically.
Well, that would be certainly above my head now.
Yeah.
Back to the Walmart deal. If I'm picturing this right, in the 9400 one, there's a big kind of median that divides the lanes off of 94th, and there's a Walmart sign right there. Where it's actually, I think it's between the gas station and maybe a shoe store.
Yeah, that's Payless.
Right. Is that the area that you're talking about?
Yep. The north side of the Payless there, just against the brick wall, there's like a 2.5 foot, 3 foot wide sidewalk.
Right.
Yep.
So I can picture that area. Now, as far as that being private property, I can't imagine that those officers would knowingly write you a summons knowing that was private property. I think in good faith they thought that was a street since it's labeled 94th Avenue. I personally know it's not because we had an accident out there where a patrol car was rear-ended at that traffic light there, and this
GIS. Yeah, we had. I went in a couple times. Went up to GIS department. Even got some plats actually. That the officer downstairs said he pulled up very easily. And so.
So you confirm that was private property, correct?
Yeah, as far as I can tell, absolutely. It all the way to the street, even the sidewalk is like adjacent to Sheridan is actually private property too. But I wasn't even on that sidewalk. I was on definitely the private drive, nonetheless. But
and I know you're frustrated, William, on some of the things that are going on. In my opinion, that those officers acted in good faith. That was public property. The court system and everything deemed that it wasn't, and that was moved out of court. That's what court is for. Why the judge upheld the obstruction part, that's way above me. I can't tell you why he or she did that. That's something that I can't answer. But evidently the judge, in the judge's opinion, they felt that the officers had reason to contact you, justified legal reason to contact you. Therefore, one half was thrown out, but the obstruction wasn't. That's, I don't know why the judge did that. I can't answer for him or her. So looking at that case, I see that part of it. Looking at Sergeant Saylor's summons that was dismissed today, I can't tell you why the court dismissed that. I wasn't there. Maybe you can fill me in on that. But in reading his notes and talking to him, he made contact with you, and he said he was just going to give you a warning, and you kind of demanded it. He gave you a summons. Why would you do that? Why would you want to put yourself through that heartache?
oh boy, you need to. Oh boy, I have dozens of audio tapes that I think you're going to have to go over at this point with me to explain a lot of legal terminology.
Right.
And a lot of defamation that officers are going to be putting out there that, I didn't intentionally try and take a ticket. I've never tried that. I've intentionally gone out there and got, do what I need to do to get help and so forth. And that I'll intentionally, basically he told me I can be moved along, get a ticket, or go to jail. And so I was like, well, I'd like to, have my rights intact. And so it's not really a choice or anything. And I'm not intentionally going out in the sense that I read the law and I understand it, and when I see that other people aren't following it, I used to go and talk to people and be nice about it, but then, it didn't matter in the end. So when somebody wants to come up and just challenge me and so forth, that I wasn't doing anything wrong, and I still wasn't, and I still haven't been, and so forth and so on. And
He documented that he watched you step out into traffic and take money from a car.
yes, exactly. Yep. Yeah.
And per our solicitation ordinance, you can't step into traffic. You can solicit, but you can't step into traffic.
Okay, so a couple more things to clarify now. I put in a motion to dismiss today, explaining that the traveled portion of the roadway, which is defined by subsection D in your statute, says something along the lines of, if I remember correctly, that it is where it's normally used by moving motor vehicle traffic. And I just filmed it literally for 4 or 5 minutes just for as evidence. I submitted that in the court today. And it's about a 2-to-1 ratio as far as what that road is normally used by, and it's normally used by non-moving motor vehicle traffic. And so it's actually not really a safety issue. And at that point, it doesn't really, it's not even capable of fulfilling the purpose of your statute 941A at that point. And so there was no probable cause. There shouldn't have been written a ticket. There's plenty of ways that you can make the statute fit to someone that is, say, stepping out while the cars are moving. And then, you might have an argument there because it looks like it's normally used at least enough that I might get a ticket that way. But then, honestly, what it's coming down to is there's only 2 statutes that really fit this type of 941, and they're actually already on the books. My brother and I have researched, which is obstruction of just stepping out of traffic, and which doesn't require you to accept money or anything like that, solicit, and then basically cars that slow down when they shouldn't. And so I've been kind of framed for that little old lady, basically, that that you can't do anything about it and whatnot, but yeah, you can. And basically a lot of times Dave and I, my brother, basically we step away from the main part of the road just to minimize that, just so we don't have to extra worry about that. But you can't blame us, especially when there's plenty of cars that do travel by and hand out money or otherwise other things at full speed. And so there's never any moving issue there. And so when I'm never stepping out into the roadway, if it came down to when the cars are moving, I don't do that. And so, like, if you guys wanted to observe me to see if I was ever unsafe or in any way able to fulfill your, purpose of your A statute, like, I would have done that. You would have caught me. But, like, I'm not being unsafe, and so I'm not actually fitting your statute on like a technical level here. And so that's what I explained to the courts today. And the judge didn't rule on it. Actually, you guys dismissed it yourselves while I was kind of waiting in court. So it's kind of a weird one. I don't know who has more or what, but I do know this, that it's pretty obvious that if someone were to do their job, go over elements and so forth, just pay attention to every word in the statute. I think the idea of an officer having probable cause is that he basically is able to kind of go over the elements and then have someone else try on those same elements. And so a lot of these elements aren't even being tried on in the first place. And so that's kind of what all these cases are turning into, is just I found out that, like, the regular person, obviously the city attorney right at the very end, after getting all the information, obviously will drop it. And so while you say good faith, that actually is exactly what I'm talking about, where good faith, there's a big difference between having good faith and not knowing all of governing law, and having good faith and knowing all of governing law. It's not even about good faith anymore. It's like a reasonable officer is one that has to be trained in all of governing law, and my brother and I have kind of been researching this for a while, and this concept is very prevalent in our society, where it's like this big book that we've been told that cops think that they don't really need to know and so forth. And, but really, actually, it's not even big books at all. We're finding that it's just simply like reading the statutes themselves to actually see what the words mean. Or we've caught a lot of officers literally not using maps, and then we even offer the map on the streets, and they're like, save that for trial, and it's like, okay, and then we used it in trial and just got dismissed. Oh, right, we won. I mean, so that kind of thing. So. But basically, these are kind of frivolous lawsuits that the worst one, to kind of explain it, back to the obstruction, the reason why I'm so concerned about that is that the judge, basically, the burden of proof is supposed to be on them to actually prove something, and I actually attempted to admit this map to see if they recognized it as part of their job, and they said it wasn't. Satan said it wasn't, and it was like a GIS patrol map of just your city that you guys are supposed to use in general to prove jurisdiction and so forth. And so I would say, and this is why I'm having to go to court over this, is because there's really no good faith in there when you didn't really use the map in the first place. And I offered that map to Saints and Perez on the streets before they arrested me. I said maps and statutes multiple times.
So you did your research and you knew you were on private property there?
Oh, yes, long beforehand, absolutely. And I actually recovered the audio of that night, and there was multiple times I kept saying maps and statutes, and they're like, ID. At that point, it became an obstruction charge. And so there's no good faith left there, especially when you're supposed to be using maps in the first place to even go over your elements in the first place. And then from there, the judge literally was not supposed to kind of buy their shit, basically, because there's no real concept of maintaining. Like, there wasn't even a contract shown. Like, if she were to probe that, basically she didn't really do her job either. And so she kind of got duped. And there's a lot of reputation flying around.
Have you appealed that?
Sorry, what was it?
Have you appealed that at all?
The funny thing is, I appealed it to the Jefferson County Court, and they accepted it. But then outside the window to fix it, I found out that the actual building itself for Westminster Municipal Court gets to be appealed through the Adams County Court. And so they denied my appeal, and then basically I tried to transfer it. I was told by both sides, Jefferson County and Adams County, that the paperwork could be transferred. It sounds like it was a normal situation. It was just a change of venue. I put it in for request-wise, and they denied it and basically said can't do anything about this. So yeah, I'm really, really, really disappointed about not being able to appeal that.
Certainly above my head on that.
Yeah, and what's really funny too, real quick on that, is I actually talked to a city attorney, and he asked the same question, and he was quite shocked because he thought you could appeal into the Jefferson County Court too. So.
Well, the summons are in Jefferson County, but you went to court in Adams County because that's just simply where our courthouse is.
Yeah.
You would have to go through Jeffco for all of it.
Yeah, exactly. Or as I found, I guess not many people went through and have been through appeals, and not many people have appealed stuff. So, but anyways, to explain this reasonable person theory that I've been on to for a while, if I may share with you, this is a really easy situation, and it might help shed some light on the concept of what a reasonable person is and so forth, and so that good faith, for instance. Okay, so I'm in a situation with Fort Collins where it's my hometown, and there was a fence that got illegally put up in the right-of-way, and it's 2384. It's real basic. You didn't get a permit, and it needed to be taken down. Well, when it got put up, nobody in the entire city did anything about it for like weeks. Cops didn't say anything about it. Everyone just thought nothing of it, basically. I find out because my brother and I are already in a different case prior about right-of-way issues, officers not knowing like right-of-way, using plats and stuff. And so basically I went to the city manager's office, ended up being like the actual only one to notice that this was illegal. He triggered the takedown notice, and he sent it. And so after 10 days it had to come down, and it did eventually come down. However, I've been trying to figure out a lot of situations here with the cops in my town and so forth, and so I basically jumped this fence the night that I got that takedown notice. I got a copy of it from the city manager's office, and they basically went straight for trespassing. And when I jumped it, and before I even could get the email to them, while I'm on the other side of the fence, it's just this fence around an east side of this Safeway building. It's just a bench area that basically it is right next to the public right-of-way, and but it's right next to this building, and so it's actually in the right-of-way is what I was trying to tell everyone, because obviously the fence shouldn't be there in the first place without permits and so forth. And it's really easy. It's a 100-foot right-of-way. It's a plat. City of Fort Collins, every city has plats and stuff. And so basically, these officers arrested me for trespassing on private property, told me that I needed to provide this document, which plainly stated that it was a right-of-way encroachment. And they said I had to basically save that for court. And so from there, they're trying to retain their probable cause. They're trying to say there's good faith that that they can't they couldn't have known better, basically. But as I'm finding out, it turns out that the entire police force, including all of their dispatchers, have been essentially calling that and taking calls at that location as if it's private property, without even a blink. No one's using maps, no one's using statutes, and basically I was the first one to actually show people a map and a statute, and I have some officers that actually agree that it's public, but the majority of them don't, and it's like really bad how they're so entrenched.
With your summons, your trespass summons?
Okay, so DA's office takes it. This 100% fraudulent document, which is submitting a false document for recording. It's attempting to influence a public servant. Basically, it was a warrantless arrest affidavit that got filled out. The judge initially shouldn't have signed off on it, but they went ahead and take it. And I'm still going to court over it. And I already told the DA everything, and they still think I'm calling their bluff or something, or that I'm bluffing or whatever. So I literally have told him everything, what I've told you here. And but the whole point too is that it's also in the police report. I actually got that email put in as a piece of evidence. And so the best that I've gotten so far, literally, is after a couple more months of talking to some of their internal affairs. Before I could write things down, they told me just to write things down. I ended up having to call back later saying that I found out their internal affairs policy says you can take complaints without writing things down. And so just recently I finally got a call back from somebody pretty high up there too, as well. And basically I've yet to call him back because I literally had to prepare for this trial here. So, I got my hands full. I can only do one thing at a time. But if you can kind of see the good faith that they're going to try and claim, the lack of probable cause, though, that I'm trying to claim. And the whole idea that it comes down to is governing law. While it may be this big, thick book, some of the audio that I'm going to send you of Saints and Prez, it's clearly not some big, thick book. And the way I'd sum it up real quick is that, like, while I was being ticketed, like they took me to the jail or the police station to book me. And so basically while I'm in there, Sainz, or it was Perez, started reading off the statute, because he thought he, had me, and basically we were fighting over the statute. I said, which one is it? B, 1, 2, or 3? And he actually didn't know there was a 1, 2, and 3. And so when he got to the B section, he literally just got quiet toward the end of it. Like, he was reading it really loud to me, and then all of a sudden just dropped off into silence. And so,
he read B.
Yeah, he only read B and then stopped at 1, 2, and 3. And that's because, like, on the streets, I was asking them for the same thing. Like, just, read the statutes. Like, I'm not in violation of anything. And so I read the statutes beforehand and everything like that. From other cases I've had from other municipalities already that we've already had dropped too. So it's a lot of stupid crap, basically. But yeah, so the thing that concerns me the most is that judge, the Tiffany, I don't know what her last name is, sorry, but the fact that Source, the fact that like elements could be pushed past her that haven't been met conceptually, like she doesn't know what like a fact is, basically. And that's really, really dangerous, because when you say something like maintaining, and it's maintained by the public, that you may say that it's like good faith on your part for a cop, but then that's what happened to a judge. A judge literally is going to try and sign off on the same good faith by the very notion that she's going to try and get out of what happened here. And it's like, should I have gotten a ticket or not? Is there reasonable suspicion? I don't think so, because it was a private drive, and it's very, very. There was no.
Well, isn't that why she dismissed it? It was because it was a private drive?
No, actually, they went ahead. The whole entire thing was as if it was public. I could never get past the cop or the CA or the judge that it was private. I even tried to show maps and stuff. Basically, it was still decreed as public, and I got acquitted because I still didn't step out, I still wasn't on a median, and I still wasn't located such that cars can't park. And so the statute literally read on its face wasn't actually read on its face by the cops that night. And so it was like 5. I got acquitted before I even had to like put in my side of the story, my defense. And so
well, that's good.
Yeah, it was good, but not good, because like she still thinks that's private or public. The Saints and Perez, they still might think that's public. Maybe they're going to still ticket people there. That's what Dave and I think about all the time. Is like these are called sweep spots. We've actually come across where people have been ticketing people there for years. We find because they didn't use the elements in the first place. It's literally like, for lack of a better term, just like a lynch, just kind of picking somebody up and hoping that you'll fill in the gaps, and later kind of like a frivolous lawsuit. So
I believe her supervisor would be Judge Stippage.
Yeah, this is judicial misconduct that I got to file with her. It's actually pretty vanilla stuff. I've caught other judges already. It's really bad.
I certainly can't help you with that.
But however, as I've learned with internal affairs policies and so forth, you might have the same as Fort Collins. Basically, these investigations can still be had on the inside in terms of actually still charging officers with actual false imprisonment charges, actual second-degree kidnapping charges. In this case, Saints and Perez would be submitting a false document for recording, attempting to influence, and so forth, because they didn't care to do their job and so forth. And so whether or not I can ever get to a 42 USC reverse claim, I feel like you guys would still have enough within your power to kind of reform your system in a way. Like these are charges that you could bring to your DA.
Some retraining and get that out there that's private property through training. But as far as that's a.
Yeah, so the question with training is there isn't there already something that should have been in place with maps? I mean, because it's like some cops when I called in or when I went in used a map right away and didn't have any issue. I called in my brother, and like a sergeant looked, and basically he didn't have any issue whatsoever. And so it's kind of like, I guess we got to find out if if there's a moles or whatever in the department that's it's kind of hard. How do you It's like how do you hire them? They pass tests, but then they don't really pass tests. I don't know. But the real question here is obviously that's going to cost money, and that's going to be really good because it's helping to not waste courts' times and people's time and so forth. But that's just kind of my point, is that like with the 42 USC, is that at this point seems to be a lot of what David and I call intellectual theft, and where a lot of our knowledge that we've had to learn the hard way is just being taken from us, and we're not getting compensated for it.
Well, William, if I was the officer out there on the street and I had a citizen, I was going to write a summons, and that citizen said, "Hey, this is private property. You need to research this." Me personally, I would have called in the dispatch or got in my car and looked at a map. That's me personally. Is there any rule or fast thing that we should do that? Well, no, there's not. But I think if some citizen raised enough stink, and sorry for that word stink, or had that much concern that, hey, that they were right and the cop is wrong, I would second guess myself and say, hey, I need to research that.
Yeah, exactly. We call that pulling a dean, basically just kind of double checking, not assuming things. But nevertheless, that's the contention I have real quick, very important here, is that we're just talking about elements here, and so you would basically double check because you would realize that you're not fulfilling your elements of your charge. But that's the whole point, is that if a cop's not even using elements, the whole point is that if you use elements, naturally things fall in place really easily. Maps get found, elements get fulfilled or not. And so here's the number one best advice I could give anybody right now on the cop side, for your free legal advice, okay? A lot of the discovery I found, to clarify everything, I actually go by the jury instructions. So there's model jury instructions for Colorado. You can look them up. 2015 edition, 16 edition, whatever. And so they actually break down each trespassing charge into the 6 or 7 different elements that have to be met, because it's only written really condensedly, in the actual statute. And I really wish they would just put those elements in the statutes, because it would be very easy to see when you're not meeting them. And so you're supposed to still have to, I think you're supposed to have to do that as your job. And so, that's, I would say that there's good faith, except that Dave and I literally have over 30 legal interactions and counting of every municipality from here to Fort Collins of being picked up.
Today's
so
the first day that I've talked to you.
It's tough.
But
sorry.
You sound like a pretty intelligent man to me. I'm assuming that you're homeless and unemployed.
I'll tell you, yes. I had a job. I had a place. I got assaulted at my residence, and I lost my job through a sickness. I used to be a computer repair technician, actually. So yeah, I had a pretty. But I'm also real quick to kind of give you some perspective. I've been fighting a wrongful conviction of 12 years of a really dirty judge up in here, Fort Collins, the one that wrongfully convicted Timothy Masters. She kind of dumped 3 other people's crimes on me, and I overpled to them, and basically was coerced into, triple the amount of what I owed. And so, basically, I've been fighting that ever since. And so I lost my jobs in places through naturally not getting good enough jobs in good enough places because of really bad discrimination against every employer and every place I've ever tried to get jobs at and places at for the last decade. Talk about it bad.
I'm giving you a compliment. You sound pretty intelligent to me.
Oh, thank you. I'm just a fact, an honest seeker of truth. I always try and find out the best truth out there, whatever. But yeah, unfortunately, it's had happened through the negative course of, like we said, doing other people's homework for them. We've done a lot of it. So, but no compensation, and that's the scary thing, is that it's not about the compensation. It's about these municipalities not learning fast enough. And so it's really scary that it's not the cops. It's the we've noticed it's the DAs, it's the judges, it's the entire public at large. That nobody likes case law, nobody wants to go read it. They hate hearing it. The ACLU is an actual enemy right now in the comment section of Colorado and over panhandling and stuff. And so really honestly, there's just some really basic constitutional violations going on. That my brother and I have caught, and we're honestly just trying to put the paperwork together as fast as we can, and we're just up to our eyeballs. And we have some really neat concepts we figured out, like blanket policies of how parks being closed at night is kind of like camping tickets and these panhandling tickets where, there's not a specific victim, and as a result, it's really, arbitrarily enforced and so forth. And basically, we have had to break a lot of these blanket policies to survive. And so the 3 unrelated rule is what started it real quick. That was like breaking more than 3 to a house in Fort Collins. The city fined us $71,000 each, just the 2 of us, my brother and I. I don't know how that happened, but basically the landlords that we were living with tried to kick us out. We had eviction rights, and basically they called it into the city, and the city kind of bought their own little internal complaint. So that's what spearheaded everything. I ended up homeless longer than I should have had to been, from this assault and the illness unrelated or related. But basically, we're putting together this paperwork, and then we basically just get swept up by a whole bunch of other blanket policies. And so what's so funny is that there weren't even they're all the same. They're just sleeping tickets. And so for future reference, you guys need to work on this on your side probably everywhere, because park curfew, constructing structure, and camping tickets are kind of like used interchangeably. And we got just basically a whole bunch of different ones. And it turns out with a camping ticket or with a park curfew ticket, for instance, we weren't even in the park. So we used a map and they didn't. And so constructing structure, we found out we weren't even in park there either. But we found out that constructing structure is vague, and vagueness of laws with void anyways.
What I can tell you, William,
anyways,
is that the city attorney over here at City Hall, they are reviewing our solicitation ordinance, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that change just based on what's going on, the constitutionality of it. Is it legal? Is it not? That's being reviewed, and recently the city attorney told us that they were reviewing that, and they were going to get back with us and let us know. Technically, it's still on the books as an ordinance violation, or they're for the ordinance, but that is being reviewed. I don't know what's going to come out of that.
Well, tell you what.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I really gotta say this. This is really, really juicy stuff now, real quick. Then we got to go because we're really hungry here. So, okay. So the reviewing of the ordinance here. Let me put it this way: no amount of reviewing or fixing or modifying it is ever going to fix the original root cause, which what Dave and I have found to believe is kind of basically racism and bigotry, and basically cops that no amount of training is going to fix them not using elements when they see someone and picking them up. And so if you write a law that's going to be tailored to this, you're probably going to always get it to be illegally enforced. And so as Dave and I have found, like we said, the other 2 statutes, obstruction and then cars not slowing down, are already on the books to the point where we found, based on our research on how we've seen people be moved along with all these different cases, with Gosselin just for holding a sign, Sainz and Perez just for holding a sign. Basically, on the audio for the third guy, it was just for holding a sign. It's basically that you guys have been removing people, regardless of any sort of case law, just for basically being homeless. And I don't think you're going to be able to fix that with any statutes. So
we should be able to contact you without a complaint. And if you're not breaking the law, they shouldn't be contacting you.
Oh yeah, well, tell that to them. Oh, yeah. Consensual encounters are great, sure, but we have it all on audio, in fact, just because of how bad it's been getting, and it's definitely not consensual. It's straight up picking somebody up and removing him. So, but anyways, what's really funny about this panhandling statute is that there's so many different subsections that you have to meet, that what we found out was that none of the problems are actually probably even being caused by homeless people at all, meaning that you guys probably haven't even ever written a single correct ticket for this statute that sort of fulfills the destiny of your purpose, meaning to prevent delays and so forth. And a lot of these people, where they're located, are definitely 100% capable of never delaying anything. And then the only delay that's ever caused out there is from that moving car. But remember, moving car full speed isn't a problem, as we've known. It's the moving car that's slowing down. It's the grandma. But then now you're just using an excuse that, a grandma's supposed to be able to be on the road not knowing law. I mean, I'd pull her over. I'd tell her, don't slow down. If you can't do it safely, you can't throw it out the window like someone else or something. Like, you can't blame the homeless guy. And so I think your whole entire panhandling statute, as we've seen with other municipalities, 100% came about as like an easy way to get rid of these homeless people, and it was never the homeless people's fault at all. And I think if there was just just a little bit of education on safe giving practices and safe accepting practices, because there are unsafe homeless people out there, then you wouldn't even need to have this law in the books, and you guys could allow and accept a lot of people into your community that otherwise don't have the ability to. And basically the only reason why we came down to Westminster was because we couldn't get enough panhandling proceeds for all of our lawsuit paperwork in Fort Collins, and so you can't be kicking people out of town at any rate, at any price.
Absolutely not.
So, anyway, sorry. I have a lot of audio. We have a lot of paperwork. I don't know if there's any sort of like temporary victims compensation, like witness protection proceeds, like a really big panhandling tip you guys can throw us of like $1,000 or something. But we still get picked up from other municipalities. So it's kind of stupid.
Right.
It'd be nice to come back in a weird way.
Right. I have no idea if any of that exists. I think you'd have to call victim advocates or call the victim rights to see if there's anything out there that can help you. I certainly am not aware of any, but it's not my arena, so to speak. I'm just not educated in that. I don't deal with that.
Well, yeah, no, it's basically a 42 USC. Everyone's told us basically we have to do all the work, even our own family.
You told me about it, so.
Yeah, so I mean that's actually, as we've read in the law a lot, the law books and case law and whatnot, the 42 USC claims are supposed to be kind of the avenue that kind of helps curtail police misconduct and so forth. And I think one of the big crimes that we've caught, crimes against humanity, if you want to call it, is that a lot of people don't know their rights on the bottom, and their right to challenge something might be good on your guys' side, so you can see.
What's that statute number that you're giving me?
941.
No, 42
No.
42 USC, United States Code.
USC?
Yeah, United States Code, 1983 is kind of the year. But it was actually, yeah, and it's actually based on 1871 code. It came around, ironically, as a way to help run out the KKK back in the day, because it had been infiltrating, I guess, maybe into the police. I haven't done too much research yet in that. I just briefly touched on it, but yeah, basically the problem is that people can't get these claims out fast enough for like the other side to reform with, and of course the other side doesn't want to reform. I mean, bad cops would, I hate to say, would rather not get caught, and just kind of go about their business. And so Dave and I, we've caught like a ton of racketeering activities, basically, by cops, of just, once they get put on the stand, you could literally tell them anything, and they will just melt their brain to cover up that they did anything wrong because of this. Honestly, this thing, the real problem is an image problem. And it all leads to people trying to cover up that America's not great anymore, or something like that. And so that's probably the number one thing that I would address if I were in your position, is an image problem. There's a lot of indifference, especially with other groups too. We've seen like with minorities, religious, Muslims and stuff. Only recently with the whole Trump election has that all come out, but and a lot of it is newspapers also. Oh man, we've told the Coloradoans so much crap, and they won't cover our stories, and so we just post comments in their article sections now, and of course people still don't believe us because we haven't gotten to the paperwork yet. And it's like, you guys can go to look online yourself, citydocs.fcgov.com, type in original town plat, and it's a 143-year-old plat. It's impossible to find or not find. And so right now I just told you more than what the DA is willing to accept, so it's downright bad, this image problem. And so I'm finding a wrongful conviction of basically trying to report crimes back then while also being investigated for crimes. And so you can't believe the criminal, and so whatever. But honestly, the big problem here is this. It's like a statistics fraud. Honestly, before we go, this is what it really comes down to, is we found there's a lot of cycles, loops, feedback loops out there, like where it's like, which came first, the nigger or the lyncher? And it's like black people are obviously innocent, but obviously there's these lynchers out there who always think that they're criminals. But that's seeping into, that's basically the entire criminal an enterprise, though. It's anybody all the way up to committing murder. Basically, they don't know it's wrong. That's why they did it, and they kind of sometimes do fit the nigger, but it's not because of anything that they can help. It's because the system literally makes everybody like have to carry everything on their own shoulders, and that's what I had to do, and I had to learn the hard way and so forth. And so now it's getting so bad with these blanket policies that there's just if you just look like a nigger, you're picked up, and that's not even meeting elements anymore. And so that's why we basically won all of our recent cases, like except for one, the camping trial. They stopped appealing that, but this is a lot different than 12 years ago when I lost. Obviously, I pled guilty to some childhood kleptomania crimes. I was writing some bad checks and whatnot. And so, but basically, this whole system is like there's two countries going on right now, and they both don't want to admit that they're using each other's bad stats, and there's people that want to use the system to literally get rid of you, ticket you, automatic no felonies for apartment buildings, good luck getting a job. And then there's the other side that's like, well, we need to charge you so we can help you and get you, processed and so forth. And so, warnings are given when they're not supposed to be. Charges are given when they're not supposed to be. There's too much discretion. And ultimately, I think the court is a huge front for the DAs to basically keep illegally collapsing everybody's egos and keep letting everyone think that they're on top of things because they got put up to the job that is too big for them to handle and they can't admit it. And now they literally throw everybody away instead.
Genocide.
It's fucking genocide. Sorry.
You gotta write a book on this, William.
No,
that's what I'm trying to.
Fucking UN.
That's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to. We can't get the paperwork fast enough. So, but you're the farthest we've gotten so far. By the way, if you could, look at some things that I think you would have a chance to start. Honestly, it's not impossible. It's gonna look bad, but you got to start turning in your own cops, and they really fit these statutes. I mean, every single cop that's in our 42 USC complaint has like 5 to 12 charges of just real basic stuff of just submitting a false document for recording. I mean, it's just a misdemeanor, but guess what? It's a misdemeanor. It's a crime. But the bigger ones are like attempting to influence and so forth. And so all these cops have false imprisonment charges because you're picking up people without lawful justification, and they're moving them regardless. If there's a non-custodial move along or custodial arrest. So that's second-degree kidnapping. That's an actual second-degree kidnapping charge. If we just got all these cops charged and got it over with, we could just swallow that pill and just move on. But like nobody wants to do that. So Dave and I continue to add more charges to our crime list. We have literally like 1,000 charges. I kid you not, dating back decades now. It's repulsive.
It's ethnic cleansing and racism.
That you two have between you?
Yeah.
1,000 times?
Yeah. We've had between people, and so because I love it because every time we go to the next party, we tell the previous story. They defame us and don't help us and cause more charges. And so we've been trying to get help since we were born. Basically, we were born into a Mormon family. We left when we were really young, and so we got defamed and kind of discriminated against, ostracized by our family. And so we regularly report all this to our family. They have refused to help us in any way meaningful. We've reported felonies multiple times, and that only now are they starting to come around, but it's kind of like too little, too late. So we can't. We have a van, which is really good. As we stopped getting camping tickets, we had an old 15-seat shuttle van and whatnot, but.
So you're living in a van?
Yeah.
Just you and your brother?
Yeah.
Parking places that are safe? Or no?
We try.
Victim of anything?
Sorry, what was that?
So you're not a victim of anybody?
At this point, we still get our gas attempted to be stolen from one day, and then you wouldn't believe this. We were in Broomfield, and Broomfield police jimmied into our vehicle while we were inside of it.
Really?
So yeah, we reported it, and the cop, their boss was like, "My boys aren't supposed to be using jimmies," and it's like, "Oh God, come on, guys." And so yeah. Oh no, and wherever we park too, like in Aurora or Arvada, if we happen to park in the same spot multiple times, just for parking and eating lunch at 2:00 in the afternoon or something like that, we'll get the cops called on us, and they'll come around and they'll be like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And it's like, didn't you guys get the last call? I mean, like, don't you write this down? This isn't the first time.
Everybody lynches
homeless
people.
And so everybody lynches homeless people, basically. So, yeah, we actually do still get bothered, but not on the ticket level, at least, So that's good. But panhandling tickets are still here, though. So.
Careful where you're parking at night, spending the night. You gotta be careful. It's a crazy world.
Oh yeah, no, we usually man the vehicle at this point. Once the gas got stolen, or attempted to be. So, but yeah. The real quick here is we've noticed in Fort Collins, like, there's no overnight parking or that they allow, or you have to go to the KOA. Basically, they won't let private property people let other people park on their property, like Walmart. They won't even let Walmart there, and so. I don't think it's that way. Sorry. With Walmart, they actually don't let it themselves, but they put up an ordinance. They actually put up a sign that says no overnight parking per city ordinance. So it's like, no, there's no actual city ordinance for no overnight parking. Just no camping, on public streets is what it is. But here in Denver, it's at least a little bit better. There's a couple places to park and stuff. Commerce City Walmart's open 20 or parkable there. But yeah, it's definitely down. Commerce City, Walmart. Yeah, it's a decent place. There's a lot of truckers there, and so it's kind of an accepted place that people park anytime they need. It's kind of an interesting sanctuary. Minus we got our gas attempted to stolen there, so it's not like it's the perfect place. But
you were surprised when he came out, right?
But no, we weren't there actually. They watched us leave, but our gas cap was on too tight, so they broke it off. And so nothing bad there, but. But no joke, holy crap, we basically got ran and followed out of town by the police the last time we got ticketed up in Fort Collins, as to why we had to start looking at other solutions like the van. They literally followed us after their last encounter with us, and which we still won in court. It was, outside jurisdiction. But basically up there we found, and anywhere we found really, that it's a kind of human trafficking, just on a really, really big level, to try and maybe keep everyone paying rent, or at least accepting that that's the standard of living. And so the homeless shelters are really bad. They're really not accommodating. It's literally, if you ever go in one, I swear, go inside one and then go into a jail, and you'll have a hard time deciding which one's better. And we've gotten bed bugs there. We've been harassed and assaulted by people there. They only offer 5.5 hours of sleep. You can't have food or water with you, and I have a hiatal hernia, so I got stomach issues, so that's like, right out the door there. And so basically, we're repealing the camping ban to address all that. But ultimately, there's nowhere else to go for people that need to sleep, and they're trying these things. And basically, I think everyone needs to just swallow their pride and just build a giant building and stop worrying about this number one concept. Are you ready? We got to leave now, but this is a good place to start off. Maybe a food for thought. I'd like to keep talking to you. You're a really cool guy. But basically, we've noticed that there's a lot of bad math out there of yuppies, which is a group of a subgroup of rich, ignorant people, that they think that it's time to start throwing out the baby with the bathwater, because evidently a few bad apples ruined it for the rest. And so that's where they try in this subgroup. There are no transients, but you're trying to pick them out so that you can, get rid of them and so forth. But and you're trying to keep the homeless. But even then, there's no difference on the street for transient or homeless. We get tickets all the same. And so it's just, there's address the ignorant, financially bigoted racism of all the rich people that think that they have earned what they've earned to the point where they can start throwing people around lower than them, and maybe you might fix some other problems in this world. I think that's the number one cause of everything. That's all of our claims are pretty much against really stupid, rich, ignorant yuppies and their thuggy cops. Basically, it's a kleptocracy. I mean, it's these cronyism. So.
Well, you've been an eye-opener for me to talk to. I appreciate that. And you brothers sound like you're hungry, so...
Yeah, I didn't even know there were commanders, so that's pretty awesome. So, but seriously, though, I would look into, honestly, the reasonable person theory and how it's got to be objectively reasonable. And I think after I file these claims, you guys will see in district court that an actual judge is going to actually rule that, a reasonable person would have used a map that night or something like that. And honestly, if you could address number one crime, I think is the scariest thing, is that Tiffany was able to take some claim that wasn't proven, that wasn't substantiated, that didn't even make any sense legally. I've never heard anything like that maintained by the government. Actually, Dave and I have heard it for other areas, like private property, thinking that they maintain it so they can, but it's not for landscaping. But that's a hoot. But basically, she was not supposed to have all that be able to pass by her. It should have been impossible. And I tried. I mentioned it. I mentioned, I printed out a plat from your guys' freaking website, and they wouldn't accept it. And so I think it was because it's really awkward in court. Cop's right there. He's on the stand. It's all heated. You guys don't want to look like you're just straight up kidnapping somebody. And so she literally thought, and she got stuck arguing down the wrong paradigm. And there's no way on earth someone should be able to get a obstruction charge for reasonable suspicion when it's a private drive. You run that by any other person on the planet, and they will agree with you that judge needs to be removed. So that number one crime, I would say. Start addressing that. You guys would be my hero. Because there's a lot of other people out there that every ticket that ever gets written, I don't really trust passing by her hands. So, but anyways, it's getting better, actually. Progress is being made. We still have a ton of paperwork, but hey, we don't have a trial to worry about, so thank you guys for dropping that. Kind of wasted our time there, but no, seriously, look at all the case paperwork, but hold your breath. I kid you not, we have a ton of evidence. We have gigabytes, just terabytes of audio of every single encounter that will shed a lot more light on it, and that's what we're trying to get. We're trying to get out onto YouTube. I built a wiki. I built a wiki for a previous company, so I'm going to put together the largest, ugliest thing just to get it over with. Just to commit social suicide, but not because it's a new era. Whatever. It's got to come out because honestly, these, it's.
Well, it sounds like you guys got a plan.
So, well, we do, but man, if you could find a way to throw us some money, we're out there panning every day for basic needs, and I think that's the biggest crime. We're not really the homeless type in the sense, we're not destitute or anything like that, but we're just really bad witness tampered victims. And so if you can find a way to legislatively or bureaucratically push something to us until we can get our 42 USC claim out, we might even throw you a discount on the claim. So whatever. Thanks for listening, at least.
All right. You have a good night. Be safe.
Appreciate it. You too. Thanks. Bye-bye.